It all began on a rainy afternoon when a stranger walked down the narrow streets of the city, his coat damp and his shoes splashing through the puddles. People often passed him by without a second glance, but today something unusual caught his eye. There, shivering near a rusted fence, was a small street dog, cowering under the meager shelter of a broken cardboard box. Its fur was matted, eyes wide with fear, and it trembled uncontrollably from the cold. The stranger, feeling a sudden wave of empathy, paused. Most people in the city had grown blind to such scenes, rushing past on their daily routines, busy with their own lives. But he felt an inexplicable pull toward this helpless creature. He knelt down carefully, speaking softly in a tone that seemed to calm the dog just a little. The dog hesitated, unsure if it could trust him, but hunger and desperation eventually overcame its caution. Slowly it crawled toward him. Sniffing his hand with tentative curiosity, the stranger noticed something unusual. Around the dog's neck was a collar, old and worn, but the tag attached was faintly visible. Most street dogs didn't have collars at all, and the presence of one suggested that this dog had belonged to someone once. Yet no one seemed to be looking for it, at least not now. The stranger examined the collar carefully, brushing away the grime. On the tag, barely legible through the dirt and scratches, were letters and numbers that made no sense at first. He wondered who had abandoned this dog and why. As he lifted the small animal into his arms, he felt a jolt of warmth and relief from the dog's soft, wet body. There was something in its eyes that told him it had been through more than just a harsh night on the streets. There was a story here, a hidden past waiting to be uncovered, and he knew that adopting it wasn't just about saving the dog, it was about finding answers, carrying the dog to his apartment. He wrapped it in a warm towel, speaking in soothing tones the whole way. Neighbors peered out from their windows, curious at the stranger's unusual behavior. They had seen him before, a quiet man who often walked alone, never interacting much with the bustling city around him. No one expected him to stop for anything, let alone a scruffy street dog. Yet today, his actions would mark the beginning of a journey that no one could have predicted. Once inside, he prepared some water and a small portion of food. The dog hesitated at first, its instinct for caution still present, but hunger drove it forward. Watching it eat, the stranger felt a strange mixture of joy and apprehension. Joy because he was finally helping a creature in need, and apprehension because the mysterious tag hinted at a past he couldn't yet understand. He decided to research the letters and numbers on the collar. Maybe it was a serial number, maybe a code, maybe just a name worn down by time. Either way, he couldn't ignore it. He spent hours that night scanning the internet, checking lost pet databases, social media groups, and even city records. Nothing matched exactly, but there were fragments-old reports of missing dogs, mentions in forums and rumors of owners who disappeared under strange circumstances. As he read through these fragmented pieces, he realized the dog was connected to something much bigger than a simple case of abandonment. His pulse quickened. Could it be that this innocent creature had witnessed something dark? Could the collar hold secrets that some people wanted buried? The thought made him uneasy, but also determined. He needed to know the truth. The dog, sensing his tension, nestled closer to him. Its small body shivering, it looked up with trusting eyes, as if to say, "Please help me." The stranger couldn't resist the connection. He had always been a solitary person, preferring to live quietly without entanglements. But this tiny creature had broken through his walls. He gave it a name, something simple yet fitting for a survivor shadow. Shadow seemed to understand that he was now a safe presence, and the bond formed instantly. But while the warmth of companionship filled the room, the mysterious collar gnawed at the stranger's thoughts. Something about it didn't feel ordinary. The way the letters were arranged, the subtle scratches that seemed deliberate, and the faint stains all pointed to a story waiting to be discovered. The following morning, he decided to take Shadow to a nearby veterinary clinic for a checkup. He needed to ensure the dog was healthy, but he also hoped the vet might recognize the collar or provide some clue. The streets were still damp from the night's rain, and passers-by glanced curiously at the stranger carrying the little dog. Inside the clinic, the receptionist gave a polite nod, and soon a vet entered with a gentle smile. Shadow was examined carefully. No major injuries, just malnutrition and the signs of exposure to the harsh streets. While comforting the dog, the vet noticed the unusual collar. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "Where did you find it?" The stranger explained everything, and she frowned, her brow furrowing. "There's something about that tag," she said. "It almost looks like it could be linked to a registry, or something secretive." Her choice of words sent shivers down his spine. Leaving the clinic, the stranger felt a mixture of hope and dread. He now had a lead, and it was enough to know that Shadow's past was more complicated than anyone had imagined. Could this be a case of someone trying to hide evidence, or worse, a dangerous secret? The streets felt different now. Each shadow seemed heavier, and each passerby's glance felt like it might hide untold stories. Shadow walked close as if sensing the tension, and the danger lurking behind curiosity. The stranger knew this was only the beginning. The collar had revealed the first hint, but there was more waiting to be uncovered. More that would challenge his courage and test his instincts. That night he stayed up late, researching old reports, cross-referencing every detail he could find about the letters on the tag. Patterns began to emerge, small but undeniable. Shadow, exhausted from the day's events, slept at his feet, occasionally twitching as if recalling memories too faint to fully grasp. The stranger whispered softly, promising protection and safety, but inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone somewhere knew about this dog. And whoever that was, they weren't going to let the secrets remain hidden for long. He looked at Shadow and realized that this street dog was no ordinary animal. There was a story embedded in its very being, a dark truth that someone had tried to bury, and now it was up to him to uncover it. The night deepened, and the city outside seemed quieter, almost waiting for the next move in a story that had only just begun. He didn't know what dangers lay ahead, but one thing was certain. The collar had opened a door that could never be closed. And Shadow was more than a companion, he was the key to a truth that would shock everyone. The following morning, the stranger woke to a faint scratching sound near the door. Shadow stirred beside him, ears perked, alert to the unusual noise. Something about the sound didn't feel ordinary. Slowly he got up and approached the door, careful not to startle the dog. When he opened it, he found a small envelope slipped beneath the door. No markings, no return address, just an unassuming white envelope that seemed almost too deliberate to be random. He picked it up, noting the weight of its contents. Inside was a single photograph and a folded piece of paper. The photo was old, yellowed at the edges, showing a man holding a dog that looked strikingly like Shadow, the same collar around its neck. His heart skipped a beat. The handwriting on the note was neat but unsettling. "Some truths are dangerous. Don't dig too deep." The stranger's hands trembled as he read the words. Who had sent this, and why? Shadow nudged his leg gently, as if sensing the weight of the message and urging him forward. It was clear someone knew about the dog and was watching, but fear wasn't going to stop him. If anything, it made him more determined. He carefully folded the note and tucked it into his pocket, glancing down at Shadow. The bond between them had grown overnight, stronger than mere companionship. There was a shared understanding, a silent pact that together they would uncover the secrets hidden behind that collar. He decided to investigate further, starting with the veterinarians. Suggestion from the previous day. Maybe there was a registry, a clue, or someone in the network of old records who could shed light on this mysterious dog. As he walked through the city streets, Shadow trotting faithfully beside him, his mind raced. Every alleyway, every familiar corner of the neighborhood seemed different now, alive with hidden possibilities. What had this dog been through? Who had owned it? And what dark secret did the collar conceal? Arriving at the records office, he was met with the usual hum of activity, clerks busy sorting files, citizens filling out forms. He explained his situation, cautiously, showing the photograph and describing the collar. The clerk, an older woman with sharp eyes, paused and adjusted her glasses. She gestured him to follow her to a secluded corner where old microfiche and files were stored. She whispered, "Not many people ask about lost dogs from the 2010s. Are you sure this isn't personal?" He nodded. "I think it's more than that. I think someone tried to hide something." Hours passed as they sifted through stacks of old records. Names, addresses, police reports, and lost pet registries spilled across the desk. Then, among a batch of forgotten files, a small, weathered envelope emerged. Inside was a registration card from a private estate, listing the dog's name as Shadow, matching the collar exactly. The owner's name, however, was startling someone whose family had connections to a major local business empire. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. Shadow wasn't just a street dog. He was part of a family that had influence, wealth, and possibly dangerous secrets they didn't want the world to know. The stranger felt a chill. He remembered the warning note slid under his door and realized the stakes were higher than he ever imagined. Someone wealthy, someone powerful, was watching and didn't want him digging deeper. Shadow looked up at him with wide eyes, and in that moment he understood the silent plea. Don't stop. Find out the truth. The bond between them was no longer just about survival. It was about justice, discovery, and uncovering a secret that could change everything. As he left the records office, he noticed a black car slowly trailing him at a distance. His pulse quickened. Was it coincidence, or was someone aware that he had found the link between Shadow and the mysterious family? He quickened his pace, keeping his head low, Shadow by his side, ears alert to every sound. Every step felt heavier now, every glance over the shoulder more urgent. He couldn't afford mistakes. That evening, back in his apartment, he examined the registration card once more. The family name was prominent, one that frequently appeared in news articles, philanthropy reports, and high-profile social circles. Shadow curled at his feet, eyes half closed but attentive. Something about the dog seemed to convey awareness, a memory of past events. Then, as if responding to an unspoken question, Shadow began to whine and paw at a corner of the room. Curious. The stranger investigated and discovered a hidden compartment in an old wooden chest he had never noticed before. Inside was a small, leather-bound notebook, worn with age, pages yellowed but filled with handwriting. The entries were cryptic, written in haste, mentioning a dog, a secret, and incidents that seemed deliberately hidden from the public eye. Certain. Words stood out: witnessed, hidden, danger, never revealed. The stranger realized the collar wasn't just an accessory. It was a key to unraveling events that someone had gone to great lengths to obscure. Shadow nuzzled against the notebook as if urging him to read further. He felt a surge of adrenaline, mixed with fear. This wasn't just about adopting a stray dog anymore. He had stumbled into a web of secrets, lies, and potentially dangerous truths. Night fell, and the city's lights shimmered against the wet streets. Outside, the faint sound of tires on asphalt hinted at unseen watchers, reminding him that this journey would not be simple. Shadow lay quietly, ears twitching at every distant sound, alert and protective. The stranger knew he had to prepare for what was coming. This was only the beginning. The notebook, the collar, the family connection, they were pieces of a puzzle that would soon demand answers. And as he drifted into a restless sleep, one thought lingered in his mind. Whoever had abandoned Shadow, or tried to hide his existence, would not remain silent for long. The danger was real, but so was the mission. The next day promised revelations, confrontations, and a truth that could shake the foundations of a family's secrets. Morning arrived with a heavy, tense quiet. The city streets empty except for the occasional passerby, who seemed oblivious to the drama that had been unfolding behind closed doors. The stranger woke to find Shadow already alert, standing by the notebook, pawing insistently at the pages. It was clear the dog wanted him to read further, and he could feel an almost uncanny awareness in Shadow's eyes, as if the dog remembered more than he could understand. With trembling hands, he opened the notebook and began reading aloud, line by line. The entries detailed incidents that seemed to involve the powerful family he had discovered yesterday, hidden deals, and a secret the world had never been meant to see. And then the pages mentioned something that made his blood run cold, a series of events in which Shadow had been an accidental witness, the only one who had seen everything during a mysterious incident that no one else could confirm. The realization hit him hard. This dog wasn't just a pet. Shadow was a living key to uncovering a dangerous truth, one that had forced people in positions of power to act in secrecy. The collar, now fully understood, was more than identification. It was a link, a marker, a piece of evidence embedded in plain sight. Whoever had left Shadow on the streets had hoped he would be forgotten, that his memories would vanish with him. But now, in the stranger's care, Shadow was alive and aware, and the secret was awakening, determined to follow the clues. The stranger grabbed his coat as Shadow trotted closely at his heels. The notebook hinted at a specific location, a small warehouse on the outskirts of the city. According to the notes, this was where events had culminated years ago, where Shadow had witnessed the incident. As they approached the warehouse, the air seemed thicker, heavier with anticipation. Every shadow, every flicker of movement felt like it might be hiding someone or something. The stranger's heart raced, but he couldn't stop. Shadow whined softly, sensing the intensity of what lay ahead. Inside the warehouse, dust motes danced in the streams of sunlight filtering through the broken windows. The silence was almost unbearable. He explored cautiously, flashlight in hand, and Shadow sniffed every corner, alert to any sound. Then he noticed it. Faint scratches on the floor, old stains, and a faint, lingering smell that seemed out of place, preserved by the years. Following the notebook's directions, he found a loose panel near the back wall. Inside there was a small, metal box. His pulse quickened. Could this be the proof he had been looking for? Slowly he opened it, revealing documents, photographs, and a small, folded envelope marked with the same symbols as the collar tag.